everybody. My name is Tanisha, and I am here in the Plaid Content Studio. I saw in the chat some people were saying hello, Tanisha and Dylan. Unfortunately, Dylan's not with us tonight, but I do have Stephen here looking at your comments. Please, of course, always feel free to comment, ask questions, open up conversation, tell us where you're watching from, etc., etc. We love your comments and questions, and we love chatting while we teach. So please feel free to do that. Today we are doing a little drizzle paint pouring party. So I'm going to do a couple different things. First of all, I'm going to walk you through the product and some tips and tricks and where you can find more information about it. And then we're going to move on to making some really cool paint pours. So like I said, we're using Drizzle. And so Drizzle is a paint pouring medium. It's one of our newest products, and it's exclusive at Michael's right now. So if you walk into a Michael's, into a store, you will see a beautiful end cap with all these colors, with the specialty paints and the regular colors, the neons, all kinds of stuff, as well as some of our tools. So we're going to go over tools as well. So again, it's exclusive at Michael's, so make sure you go check that out, and you'll see a cute little picture of Dylan on the end cap, which is really fun to see. So the Drizzle line is an indoor-outdoor paint. It is an acrylic paint, and it's pre-mixed, which means that sometimes when you use other people's products, you do have to mix them with a pouring medium. This already has it in it, and you also don't need to do a top coat on these. These will dry glossy. They do need a couple days to dry, which is to be expected with paint pouring. We're pouring very thick. You know, we're using a lot of paint when we do this, so it will take a couple days to dry. You can move it after a day, but you don't want to stick your fingers in it or hang it up until a couple days. So some of the tools we're going to use, first I'm going to show you the tools that you can buy in the store, and then I'm going to show you some extras that are just good to have around. So we have things like our slotted cups. So these do have a bottom, and I'm going to show you some things that do not have a bottom. So these are our cups. This is a 3-slotted cup. That's what that one is called. And we have a 7-slotted cup. Also has a bottom, has a nice little pouring angle to it. And then what I meant when I said they don't, some of them don't have a bottom, you do have things like this, these little kits that are tools. So this is called a pouring shape. And so basically you put the shape down, you pour over it, and the way that it's flowing onto your canvas will create a shape. And then we have these little guys. These ones are called slotted strainer tools. And again, these are open on the bottom, and you pour into it, and it has little slots, and that will create a certain kind of shape in your pour. And then we have things like this. And this, what is this one called? This is a drop, swipe, and stir tool kit. And this comes with a lot of great things. So this has like a couple different kinds of combs. You have a triangular one, you have a wide slot, a thinner slot, and then it also comes with droppers and some wooden stir sticks, which are very helpful. So unpackaged tools that you will need are gloves, and I'm not wearing gloves because this will damage your skin. These are totally non-toxic, completely safe. Kids can do it. You can breathe it. You know, there's no fumes. It's totally fine. I'm only wearing gloves because this is incredibly messy. So you do want to have, you can see I have a big cookie sheet here. These deep cookie sheets are great for doing pours on because the paint peels right off of these when they're dry. I was going to see if I could get a piece, but it's kind of hard with these gloves. So you can see that it just peels right off. So these are really great to use. You can use them over and over again for all your pours. There we go. There's a bigger piece. And just peel them off. And you can actually use those peelings on other projects. So I actually did a project that's up on our Plaid website, plaidonline.com, that's a lamp. And it had sort of variated size. And so we took these paint peelings, cut them to fit, and wrapped the lamp in it, and it came out really gorgeous. So you can reuse your paint peelings like that. Let's see, so gloves, some cups. You can get a silicone cup that you can reuse over and over again. For tonight's class, I'm going to use some plastic cups. And a butane torch. You know, obviously if kids are doing paint pouring, you don't want to give them a butane torch. But if you're an adult, these come really in handy to get rid of bubbles. And you'll also need it if you want to use a silicone in your pour. So silicone is what creates those cells that you see in really popular pouring videos where the paints sort of separate. Let's see, I do have some back here that you can see that have these little dots, right? It's those are the cells pulling apart from each other. So that's what the silicone oil is great for. You only need a couple drops of this stuff. So these 6-ounce bottles will last you a really long time. And so, yeah, I've got a couple different canvases. I have real canvases, and I also have plain wood canvases, which are just a raw wood. So we're going to do both of those. We're going to do 4 different projects. And I think that's it. So I'm going to try to let you know what colors I'm using, if it's a specialty paint, so on and so forth. So let's get started. Stephen, do we have any questions or anything yet?
I think we're good to get going.
All right. And like I said, if you want to let us know where you're from, actually, you know what, I'm going to start with this. We would love to talk to you while we're working. And let us know if you've ever done this before. So I'm going to use, this one is called Good Night. And this is one of our large bottles. They come in a small bottle and a large bottle. So I believe the small bottles are a 2-ouncer. Let's see, 4-ounce, sorry. So 4 and 17 fluid ounces. So I'm just going to go in no particular order, but I'm going to pour paint into these. Oh, sorry, I'm on my overhead. I'm going to pour paint into these slotted sections of this cup. I'm just going to squeeze it in there.
Tanisha, we have people tuning in from California, Seattle, Virginia, Connecticut, from New Hampshire.
Ooh.
I think you might be familiar with New Hampshire.
I am. I'm originally from, well, sort of originally from New Hampshire. Do we have a name on that one?
From Bedford.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's sort of near my mom. My mom lives in Walpole.
Okay.
And I grew up in the Peterborough area and still have many friends there. Oops, someone's not open.
From Venezuela, from New York.
Venezuela. Holy mackerel. No, last time I did a live, a Michael's live, we had a lot of people from Canada, I believe, which was interesting. Forgive my bottle. Grab another one. And one thing that I am going to do, we'll take, let's see, I'm going to take some white and I'm going to put it on my canvas to sort of pre-wet my canvas. This will allow the paint to flow a lot better. Let's get another one. This is Cloud 9. This is our standard white. We do have a specialty white as well that has some shimmer in it. So I'm going to go ahead and put quite a lot on there. And then I'm just going to move it around. Oh, and I should mention, this is sitting on, I mentioned the cookie sheet and I didn't mention the spinner. This is sitting on our Drizzle spinner. And what it is, you can think of it sort of like a cake spinner for frosting cakes. And I will show you that it does spin. So it's really great to spread your paint out. I'm gonna go ahead and switch my gloves already.
So Tanisha, I have a comment here.
Okay.
I was hoping to get some of your input on. Somebody says that they don't have the slotted cup, but they just have a regular cup. Mm-hmm. What would you suggest they do for this kind of pour? Could they still just pour it in the regular cup?
So yeah, that pouring it in a regular cup is thought of as a dirty pour. So what you would do is you would put it in a regular cup and you could I'll show you a regular cup. You could do a couple different things. You could tilt your cup a little bit and pour, one color in, another color, so that you get really lovely layers. You could also get kind of crazy with it and just sort of squirt it in, kind of roughly, so that it bubbles up and that kind of thing, and you get more of a mix. It's you really, no matter how you do this, you will come up with a different result every single time, even if you don't mean to. So yes, you are totally welcome to try dirty pours, and you can also use tools. I mean, you don't have to. You can also, honestly, you don't even need a cup. You can go directly from the bottle, and you may see me do that at some point tonight. But for this one, we're going to do something a little bit fun. So, okay, so my canvas is wet. I'm going to take my slotted cup here, and you can see I just kind of went through. I'll probably end up adding a little bit more of that dark color afterwards, but we're going to see this start to flow, and I'm just going to do circles. Now, this is something that I did on a TikTok recently, and it came out really cute. So I'm going to try to replicate it in a different colorway. And really, paint pouring is a fun art form because you never really know what's going to happen. And it's almost I don't want to say mistakes, but the variables that make it fun. And I love art forms like that. That's one of the things I love about printmaking, is that as you're going, you never really know how much you have left or how it's going to look until you pull that print. And I feel like paint pouring is the same. It looks one way, and then you move it around, and bada bing, you got a whole different thing. All right. So that is looking cool already, but we are I'm just going to pick up this whole thing because I do have it taped down to the spinner. I'm going to move it around a little bit just to get those edges, those corners. You can see it flowing around. It's really fun. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a spin to get it to spread out. And again, this can get really messy, so you want to cover your surface. And you can see the paint dripping off the sides there. And I think that looks pretty cool. And you could go in again and, use another tool, or just use one of your wooden sticks and add, direction. You can add shapes. You could go in and add more paint. You really can do whatever your heart desires. And I'm just going to add a couple more smaller guys with what I have left in my cup. And you could also splatter. You can splatter with your leftovers, which is also really fun. If anyone was watching the Drizzle launch, Dylan and I did a really fun, huge drizzle canvas up on a wall, and we were just throwing paint at it, and it was really fun. All right, I'm just gonna flatten that out a little bit. Woo. And there we go. I think that looks really cool. That would be really fun on maybe a teen's wall or something like that. I'm going to, Stephen, I'm going to have you take this away, but I'm going to keep the spinner. Whoops, I got my thumb in it. Right. Now I'm just going to bring in another cookie sheet here, and we're going to do a different technique. Another good thing to have around is baby wipes.
So while you're doing that, Sneesha, I want to read you a comment.
Okay.
Stacy says that she's done this before with her preschool class using the dirty fours, and this was before she knew that the slotted cups existed.
Oh,
So
fun.
she's had a chance to get them, but she hasn't had a chance to use them yet. So
Okay.
getting to learn lots of techniques when you finally get the chance to try them out.
Yeah, that's fun. That's really fun to do it with kids. My kids love doing paint pours. I've got two. They're 7 and 9. I don't think they're watching tonight. It's a little past their bedtime. But they are on summer break now. Maybe. All right. And I do have, you can see here, I put tape on the back of this one. I still have my tape left over from that one. And I'm just going to stick it right on there. Whoops. Not my most even stick, but that's okay. And we do have, if you are looking for a list of our tools and things like that, you can go to plaidonline.com and you can find our PDF. I believe it's called Drizzle. Let's see. Drizzle, get your pour on. And it's a PDF that shows all of our different kits and our tools, and it has a whole page of tips. So the next paints we're going to use, I picked out sort of a home decor vibe. So we're going to do our dark blue Goodnight, our silver bank, which is a metallic paint, another matte metallic New Penny. This one's my favorite. And a third metallic Heart of Gold. And I will most likely put some white in there as well. And Stephen, would you mind opening that one up for me? Oops, I got a little bit of paint on there. That's okay. We're just going to cover it up. And for this one, you know, since someone asked if you can do this without a tool, let's do that. Let's go ahead and do a toolless pour. So I'm going to start again with white. You don't have to start with white. You could coat your canvas with any color you want. I'm just going to start with white because it's a nice neutral. I know we have done this with black and our neon kit, which is really fun. I believe we have one, yep, right behind me. We have a black with neon. Just going to put some new gloves on. I'm going to go ahead and spread this white around. And you can also do this on a dry canvas. You do not have to coat your canvas. But it is a tip that I enjoy because you do just get a good flow. But you can do it on dry. If you're running low on paint, it's fine. I'm just going to use my butane torch. I think you saw me do this on the first one. I'm not sure if I called it out. I'm just going to pop a couple of these big bubbles. Most of the bubbles will come out on their own. It's not a particularly bubbly paint, and of course it does not dry fast. So you will not get stuck with bubbles. But it is nice to just get the big ones out of the way. All right, so I'm just going to open up these bottles and pour directly on the canvas. So let's start. We'll do some of that. And that was my gold. Do maybe some big circles with my penny. And maybe some crossways. And then I'm just going to do some bit of splatter with our dark. We're just going to move it around and see how this comes out. And you have a little bit of control when you're moving it. You can kind of see the direction that it's falling, and you can play around with it a little bit. This already has a home decor vibe to it, which is what I was going for. You want to make sure you get your corners. Sometimes those corners can stay dry. Somehow you get paint all over the place and your corners are still dry. So that's looking really nice. I'm going to add a tiny bit more blue in there, maybe across this silver. So really, you know, when you're doing this, you don't have to have a plan. You can, of course, and there are professional pouring artists who do go in with plans and gorgeous techniques. But when you're first starting out doing this, it's really, really fun and useful to just play around. And you learn so much about the techniques just by trying different things. So what do you think? You think that one's finished, Stephen?
I think it looks great.
Look good. Yeah. So this one sort of has like maybe a masculine vibe to it.
Yeah.
Could go in maybe a guest bathroom, something like that. I think this one's.
Somebody says maybe spin it one more time.
Spin it? All right, let's spin it. We haven't spun this one.
I don't even know what you're gonna get.
You don't. How does that look? Maybe let's add a little bit more gold.
We had another question about why you use the butane lighter.
Okay, so yeah, the butane is to pop bubbles. You can also use the butane to activate the silicone oil. I have not used silicone oil yet. I may not tonight. It takes a little bit of time to mix the silicone into your paint cups. You just have to have it mixed well. But the butane lighter basically creates the reaction of the silicone oil and the paint to create those cells between the colors. So it separates the colors, which is a really, really cool technique.
This one's got cells.
Okay, yeah, let's look. So here you can see down here. Oh, this way?
This one Chris and Andy painted on.
Oh, okay. So up here you can see a couple cells where it has separated. Oh, you know what? I have a really good example right here. Let me show you this one. So this one has really great separation in between the gold and the black there and the silver and the black. And that will happen if you use the butane lighter and your silicone oil. So if you guys want to see that, I can do that. It'll just take a little bit of time to mix the paints, but we can do that. All right, so Stephen, I'm going to have you take this one away, and I do not need the spinner anymore, so you can take that. Okay, so on this one, the reason I don't need the spinner is because this is just a wooden canvas. And what I've done is I've put tacks in each corner. These are just regular push pin tacks. And I've put them in each corner so that it sits up from the pan. So it gives you that space to allow the excess paint to drip into the pan.
Speaking of excess paint,
yes.
I had a question that says, what can I do about excess paint? I did one and there is some excess paint on the canvas. So maybe they have too much paint on the canvas.
Okay. So what I would do about that is what you saw me doing, where you're lifting it up and allowing it to drip off. You probably just need to do that more. If you want to get really crazy, we have done some pours where we keep the canvas upright like this and let all the paint drip off. And of course some sticks, right? So you're letting all the excess come off and allowing basically just a different pour. You're doing an upright pour.
Okay, and if you're asking about having too much paint in the pan afterwards,
Yes,
you can let it dry.
you can let it dry, and then you can either dispose of it, it peels right off, or you can use those, you can use that, you can peel it off all in one big sheet, and then you can use that to cover things instead of painting, if that makes sense.
So maybe for this one, we can try some silicone stuff. because
Sure.
We have some more questions about
Okay,
when does that happen and when does the lighter come into play.
okay, let's do a silicone pour.
So we should also mention that since we're working on a wood canvas, I don't know that we've tried a silicone pour
we
on.
well, we're gonna do
on
an
wood.
experiment here. All right, so let's do the black, white, and pink. And hopefully that'll give us some good solid cells. So what you want to do for a silicone pour is you're going to get a good amount of paint in there. I'm going to go ahead and prep each cup. So my black, white, and pink, sorry, that pink was called Island Hop. It's a lovely pink, nice and bright. And this black is called Pitch Black. And my white is the Cloud 9 that I've been using this whole time. And then I'm going to do is I'm going to take the silicone oil, and you can buy this at I believe, I'm sure you could find it at Michael's. If not, I would maybe look online. Maybe our Michael's rep can let us know if there's a link for that. I'm just putting a little bit in. I'm going to use my little stir sticks. I'm going to stir this, and I'm trying not to stir it too fast, so I don't want to create bubbles. Although we will be using the torch, so the bubbles don't stand a chance. And I will, since we are doing a silicone pour, I will coat this wooden canvas in a coat of white again. So we have that slippery surface.
How much silicone would you estimate that you added?
When Dylan teaches this, he always says a couple of drops. I did do a little bit more than that, just because I want to make sure that we do get something that's visible on camera here. I would say I gave it a single squeeze.
Yeah, it felt like a 1.5 seconds squeeze. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see Ruth just said she added a spritz of silicone after mixing. Is that what she said?
So after she poured.
Oh, after she poured. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure we've tried that. After pour. Okay. Well, Ruth, maybe if I don't see a lot of cells, I'll give that a shot. The silicone oil does it does make the paint, when dried, a little more like oily.
Yeah.
Which is nice when you're peeling it off. It actually makes it easier to peel off, but maybe not as useful as paint skins to do something with once you peel it off. All right. So you know what, actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this white with the silicone to coat our canvas. See if I can get it even here. And I know someone asked in another class if you have to add silicone to all your colors for it to work. And I believe the answer from Dylan was no, you do not. You can do a variety and experiment all you want. I'm actually just going to use a little stick here to kind of spread it around. And I will say that doing this on wood, I know Stephen said that we may never have tried this on doing silicone on wood. I will say that doing that first layer is a little stubborn on the wood. It's getting there, but we're not getting as even coverage on that first layer, but I think that is okay. We're just here to have fun. It's a paint pouring party after all. Change my gloves again. You will go through a lot of gloves if you're keeping your hands clean. And again, you can get it on your hands. It is not a big deal. It's really just for cleanliness, to keep your pour clean, to keep your surfaces clean, keep your fingernails clean. Although doing the job I do, I very rarely have clean fingernails. So. All right, so let's see. So I'm just going to use a cup. I'm going to just kind of play around. Maybe get a bit of splatter on there with my stick. All right, I'm gonna leave a little bit of paint in my cups so that we can do some touch-ups afterwards. So I'm just gonna lift this up and get this good and coated.
You can already see some of the cells starting to
You
form.
can, yep. Add a little bit more black to the center here. And if I was using, actually, you know what we could use? Let's use one of our combs here, just to give a kind of a view of how that looks. All right, so we did that. And you can see these bubbles starting to pop up, and those are the cells showing themselves. So I'm just going to turn on my butane lighter, and you can get these lighters pretty much everywhere. You can get them at grocery stores.
Some craft stores will have it.
Mm-hmm. Craft stores, hardware store probably. Hopefully you can see those starting to pop up on camera. Seems to be, my butane lighter maybe needs to be filled. Probably should have looked at that before we got on camera. You can see like these here in the corner, you can see these little baby cells popping up where those colors really mixed in that, where we did the comb. It seems like the black really is the one making the cells against when all three colors combine. Can everybody see those dots? I can hold it up a little closer. Oops. So hopefully you can see like in those corners there, you're seeing those little cool little shapes popping up.
Somebody asked, can you hold the lighter up too?
Yeah.
They may not have seen a butane torch
Sure,
before.
sure. So this is a really simple standard butane torch. There are fancier ones. This is the type that you would be able to buy at a grocery store. Here in the content studio, we do have sort of a fancier one that has a much larger flame on it, but this one's really more like a lighter. It's not much, you know, it's not much bigger of a flame than a lighter. It does have a little bit of propulsion to it, I would say. Let's see if I can lock it. So we still have some popping up. So really, I think, you know,
you can also use toothpicks or like thumbtacks if you really want to just get down into it.
If you want to keep playing with it, yeah. Yeah, and we can maybe we can show a little bit of that. So if we like keep kind of playing around, let's see if we can get some more to show up.
Yes, can you use a heat gun instead of a lighter?
You can, but it gets really messy.
And also, a heat gun is surprisingly much stronger than a lighter. So just be careful with how big of a fire you're working with. Yeah,
the problem with heat guns with pouring paint is really that you will get such a big burst of air that you will find
like a crater in your paint.
Yes, a crater is a good way to explain it. All right, let me put some gloves on, and I'm just gonna sort of move this around one more time, and we're gonna spread out those cells a little bit, and then we'll be done with this one. I hope that explained a little bit more of the silicone and how to use it. Let's see if we can get some of this to pop a little more. And you could even play around in the paint that's hit the pan. You could use your torch on that and see what kind of cells you can get on that. So I think that's good. Hopefully you guys can see that.
Yeah.
You know, it sort of looks like an ocean creature, maybe with its little little suckers. All right. We'll say done with that one. Let me know, that was a good suggestion. Let me know in the comments if you do want to see something, you know, a specific tool or anything like that, and I can make sure we use it in this next one. Why don't let's do a dirty pour.
Okay. We had a good question that we haven't really talked about yet.
Okay.
How long do these take to dry?
So it takes, you know, to be really safe, to be able to hang it up in your house, I would give it at least 3 days.
Just because the sheer volume of paint that you're working with is
yes,
so much.
It's a lot of paint, especially if you're using silicone. I would say it probably will take longer to dry because there is like an oil base in it once you do that. So I would, you know, honestly, if you, let's say you were going to get into selling these on Etsy or something, you would want to wait at least 7 days before you packed something like this up. But you can move them around and clean up, you know, after 3 days, I would say. All right, so my next colorway is going to be sort of a fun primary, maybe a kid's bedroom type. So I've got these sort of funky colors. This one's called Splash, and I'm just going to do a straight dirty pour. We're just going to throw paint in here. And we're going to do some layers. Oops, that one's not open. Will you open that for me while I do the other colors? So you'll see I'm doing some down the sides. I'm doing some as dots. And I'm using that sort of aqua color as a good base. Maybe I'll throw a little bit of white in there. White never hurts. some of this fun orange. That orange will be sort of our darkest shade in there. And really, I'm not doing any rhyme or reason to this. You can, you can make patterns. You can do it in an angle, but we're just going to get funky with it.
So we had a couple of people actually asking if we can use one of these tools.
Uh-huh.
The star. We had a comment asking to use the star tool.
Oh, okay.
Try that out.
Yeah, Stephen, if you could find me one, maybe over there. So what I'll do is I'll show you a dirty pour, and then we'll do a star tour. Sorry, not star tours, star pour on top of it. So for a dirty pour, you're basically just throwing all your paint in a cup. So what you do, okay, here's our star cup. All right, and I'm going to show you this too. So our star cup does not have a bottom. You can see that. But for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn my canvas over. I'm going to put it on top of my cup, and I'm going to flip this over. Be real careful. Okay, so now we've just got a little bit of paint coming out. All that paint is sitting up here in this cup, and I'm just going to lift it up, and we're going to see what happens. Ready, set, go. Okay. So, and then you just move it around until it does something that you like. So this one,
It looks like the surface of another planet.
it does. That one corner is really cool, isn't it? So now basically I have a base, right? So now that was a really simple way to coat your canvas. This might not be the final image that you want, which is totally fine because you can keep pouring on top of it. You know what else it looks like? It almost looks like a melted sherbet.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dreamsicle.
All right. So that's actually really, it was looking muddy at first, but that actually looks really pretty, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. And then just so I can show you the tool, the way you do a star cup pour or star tool is it's really much like doing the dirty pour, because I'm going to put this on the surface, bloop, just like that. And it's going to stick to my surface because we already have a wet surface. So we're creating a bit of suction there. And let's see, maybe we'll just do kind of a dirty pour inside of it. We'll do a messy pour that sort of goes with this same color theme. Let's do an orange in the middle, maybe. And if you're interested in seeing more of this type of pour, Dylan has some great videos. I'm a bit of a noob at this, believe it or not. I have done videos with Dylan, but I would not say I'm an expert. He's had a bit more experience with it, but we do have fun doing it for sure. All right. So now what you do is you could do it like a dirty pour and lift the whole thing off really quickly. But the way that I've been taught to do it, and the way I'm going to show you, is that you lift it up a little bit at a time so that you're getting a bit of a flowing ridge to it, I would say. And it should give us a slight star pattern. So hopefully you can see that I'm sort of undulating it a little bit to let out a little bit of paint at a time. So we've got a little bit left in there. All right, and that almost looks like a flower, doesn't it? Okay. And then again, I'm just going to try to evenly pour this off. I almost hate to cover up that what we had in the beginning. It was pretty.
You don't have to. You could just stop if you want.
You could. You could. So you can imagine that all these different shapes that we have in these tools, that each one that you play with is going to give you a different result. And then additionally, depending on the colors that you do, you can find different color combinations. Everything you do is going to be a bit of an experiment and a bit of a surprise at the end.
Well, that's kind of the cool thing, is because there's not really a wrong way to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
There isn't. And so just to make this a little more fun, just throw in a little more of this blue, because I think it really kind of highlights the rest of the colors. I see that we have these little sort of petals.
I think a lot of people like this one, Nisha.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, good. Let's see, I'm going to use my bare hands here. We're just going to spread around this blue a little bit. I just like that pop of blue in it.
Somebody asked, how can you fix the area that your fingers touch? You can just let the paint roll right over it.
You can, yep. Yep. You could also use, you know, if you've got your wooden
Scraper tool.
scrapers, things like that, you can play around with it. You could also squirt some paint on it and let it roll off. All right, how about that? It's kind of got like a summer pool vibe to it.
Yeah.
And if you can see any of those bubbles, I'm going to hit it with my butane. Just get the big bubbles out. Again, this really dries pretty slowly, so you don't have to worry too much about bubbles. A lot of these bubbles will come out on their own. But even when you don't use silicone, sometimes popping your bubbles does give you a little bit of an effect of what the paint was underneath the bubble. Sometimes you can see through it and see little fun little sunspots, which are nice. All right, I think that one actually came out pretty cool. And I think that's our last project. So if you have any other questions, please give them to us now so that I can answer them before we sign off.
Yeah. That one kind of reminds me of Scooby-Doo for some reason.
I can see that.
The Mystery Machine colors.
Yes, yes.
Highlight it for
It's a bit retro, isn't it?
Yeah. You want to cycle through what we did?
Sure. All right, so we've got this one that you just saw, which was a dirty pour
With the star tool.
with the star tool.
This earlier.
This one, I believe we just squirted directly from the bottles and used the spinner tool. And this one's sort of in home decor colors. Right, and this was the first one we did, which was the 7-slot cup. And it's kind of hard to see because it's currently sitting in its leftover paint. But we did the 7-slot cup in a circular motion. Oops. And this one was the one that we did with silicone oil in a 3 colorway. We did the silicone oil and got those cells, and you can actually see, just since it's been sitting there, there's been more cells coming up without us touching it, which is really interesting.
Okay, we did have a last minute question.
Okay.
Somebody said, can you put down too much paint, like in a situation where it's too thick?
I don't know that we've ever run across that. I think eventually any amount of paint will dry.
Yeah.
You just need to wait long enough.
Okay, and then we had another question about what to do with excess paint after it dries.
Okay, so we touched on this a little bit earlier. if you use a cookie sheet like this, a baking sheet, and you allow this excess paint to dry on the cookie sheet, you can actually just peel it right off. Once it's dry, it peels right off super, super easy. You can use your baking pan over and over and over again. And if you're super creative, you can peel those excess paint sheets off and you can use them in your crafting. So you can cut them into shapes. You can use them to cover things. They actually stick really well to glass without even using glue. So you can do that. And then you can also, you know, if you wanted to put it on, say, wood, you can use glue with it. I suggest Mod Podge.
You can just rinse it too if you don't feel like saving the paint.
That's true. That's true. Yes. If you don't want to let it dry, you could just rinse this down your sink and it's totally fine. Non-toxic. It'll rinse away. One thing I like to do if I'm going to do that is to take a paper towel first and wipe up the most of the excess and then throw it in the sink and rinse it away. It's a good point, Stephen.
Okay. Well, I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining me. It was very fun to do a paint pouring party with you. And I hope you guys all will join us again. We do have another class coming up and I'm so sorry, but I forgot my Post-it. So please look in the Michael's listings for another.
They just put it in the chat now.
Oh, they did. Oh, great. Okay. So it is in the chat. So please check there for our next class. You are always welcome to join us. We love having you. And I hope you had fun tonight. Thank you so much.